And now Radio RuffiYo, the regularly radio show.
Real talk with real people.
From real life, yeah.
Yeah.
From real life, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it real? Is it reality? Is it real? Is it reality?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. All in all, just the pure realness here on Radio RuffiYo.
Here on
Radio.
What?
What?
Here on
Radio RuffiYo.
yeah.
Dzień dobry, buenos dias, bonjour, hello. My name is Rafael Afar. Here today, live from London, or almost live. Beautiful London, the capital of England. And today in our third episode of Radio RuffiYo, we have also two very interesting people here from London, this time from the film industry. Welcome Stephanie, welcome Sean.
Sean.
Welcome Stephanie and Sean, hello.
Thank you for inviting us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to have this interview with you. First of all, I have to excuse myself because, as I said already, my English right now is not so yellow from the egg, as we say in Austria. And since yesterday, I have killed 4 of my last 5 brain cells in the night. I might have some word finding or vocabulary problems, but whatever, we just flow and
Not a problem. It's actually way better than my Austrian, so
we can also do it in Austrian if you like. We can change. First of all, maybe you would like to introduce yourself. Maybe what are your concrete professions in the film industry? And maybe talk a little bit, about your CV, about your career steps, and how you get into this business. This would be interesting.
Well, I'm Sean. I am a writer, a director, and a producer, and I have a production company called Frenzy Films with Stéphanie Joalland, who will introduce herself in a moment. And together we write, direct and produce independent feature films, mainly focused on what we call genre films, horror, thriller, science fiction, and we call them elevated genre films. And essentially what that means is that they're not just blood and gore and gratuitous violence. They hopefully have some kind of social messaging behind the stories. We don't want to we want to be subtle about that. We don't want to preach, but we found that when you make a genre film and it has a social message attached to it, albeit subtle, it will also reach out to a different audience other than just fanboys and girls of genre films. We're based in London. We've been going about 10 years now, but it's in that time we've made a couple of movies. And we're just about to make our third movie called The Last Moon, which I wrote and will direct, and Stephanie is the lead producer on. And then after that, we will be making one of Stephanie's films. We're not sure which one yet, but you can talk about that, Stephanie. We have 5 or 6 projects in what we'd call advanced stages of development, meaning that the screenplay is fully developed, and they're all attaching partners that are necessary to make the film. Investors, sales companies, distributors, actors, and so on.
But so you work parallel at the same time, 6 projects. You don't focus on one project to finish this?
Exactly.
So you have,
It's not a very good idea because it takes a very long time to develop a project, to produce a project, to find the money for it. And a lot of film projects, unfortunately, they fall through. You think you're about to go to camera and then it doesn't happen. So it's very healthy to have 2 or 3 or 4 projects. And a lot of even like big companies, they have up to 50 projects going on at the same time. Obviously, a lot of them, and that's a sad truth about the film industry, they won't get made but they are in active development. So we have fewer projects because we really we really want to get them made. So they get a lot. Each project receives a lot of love from the two of us. But yeah, it's just good to have at least. They're like horses in a race. You don't know which one will be leading the race eventually, and so yeah, that's what.
Which one will win the race? I mean,
and win the race,
if the analogy is a horse race, which is a good analogy, one is leading a pack for part of the race, and you think that you're ready to make the film, and then a piece of financing falls through, or an actor drops out, then that horse, so to speak, drops to the back of the pack, and another horse takes the lead, and you get excited about that. You get a new actor attached, a new partner, so you never quite know which one is going to happen next, and it keeps changing, the timing, and the market is very fickle. It changes a lot, and the other thing, it's not just us. Stephanie and I have this company, and we own the IP of the projects, the intellectual property.
Sorry to interrupt you. I have one question. For me, it sounds a little bit. The film. How should I say it? It's for me. It sounds like you are in full control. So you have your own idea of a movie. You write a script. You organize the financial stuff, all this. Are you directing also then?
Yeah, we're directors as well. And we do have, you never have full control, because anyone that puts significant money into a project, equity investors or a sales company, they'll always have ideas about actors, who you should cast, what the budget should be, and they'll have ideas about the screenplay, the story. But you do have a lot more control as an independent filmmaker than you would, working on television projects, or as a writer, or working for the studio or streamers, because they really have a lot of control. But the more independent you are, you're never truly independent. You're codependent, but you definitely have more creative control when it's your own company, and you wrote the script and you own the IP and you're directing, because the directors have typically the most control, the most say. But you never have truly full independence unless you literally are making movies with your own money, on your own credit card.
And actually, if you don't want to lose your mind, because it's a very tough industry, I think it's good to know the difference between what you can control and what you can't. You can't control someone changing their mind about the project, the financing not happening, someone losing their money, an actor changing their mind. That you cannot control. But what you can control is the time and effort, energy you put into your craft and the decisions you make. So but at the end of the day, quite a lot of aspects are in the lap of the gods, and that's just.
But everything, any movie that gets made, everything, the actors, the money, the sales agents, the distributors, orbits around the screenplay. The screenplay is like the DNA. It's the seed. It's the egg, and basically the more harder you work on that and develop it, and it can take several years sometimes to develop something to be really strong and good, then the less likely you have to compromise, or the less likely you have to take notes and feedback from other parties. But the nature of the beast is that you do have to compromise, whether it's on the time or the budget that you have, or the story, in order to appease all the other partners that you have in the group. But the harder you work before you take the project to the market, the less likely it's going to change.
Okay. I mean, I can imagine this is not something that goes like this, that you become a director or stuff like this. How was your career actually? Or were there some particular situations, moments, milestones?
I come from a poor background, a working class background, Irish immigrant family, and I had no exposure to the arts in any way, whether it's theatre or cinema or literature, until later in life when I was interested in it personally. So I explored especially cinema, but also theatre and literature a bit later in life, in my 30s actually. And then just randomly, I luckily randomly got a job on a movie in the mid-90s. There was a shortage of crew in the UK in the 90s because they were making a lot of American movies in the UK because of the strength of the pound against the dollar, or the dollar against the pound. And because they were making a lot of movies, suddenly there was a shortage of film crew in the UK. So they started recruiting people from other backgrounds, and I happened to have a skill set in like carpentry, metal work, electrical work. Basically, I was in the construction industry, and I had certain skills that travel over easily into the movie business, especially when it comes to set building, special effects, all the craft side of the business. So I got a job basically on a big Hollywood movie called Judge Dredd that starred Sylvester Stallone, and I immediately fell in love with that world, seeing the actors, seeing the sets, seeing the director, and almost immediately I decided that I wanted that to be my career, to be in the film business. And it took a couple of years, but I decided to become a writer first.
But you lived at this time, you lived in Hollywood or in LA?
No, this was in the UK, in my hometown actually, which is Watford, which is just 10 miles north of...
the connection to the Judge Dredd production, and also did you...
Yeah, so I had a friend who was occasionally working in the business as an extra, and he had connections with people that were looking for the crew. So he recommended me because I had these skills, and so I got on this movie. It took a couple of years. I worked on about 12 or 13 Hollywood studio type movies in the UK, and I started having an interest in writing my own screenplay. So as soon as I started writing a screenplay, I decided to do a Master of Arts in screenwriting at the London College of Communications, and I did that for 2 years. And as soon as I graduated, I decided to apply to UCLA Film School in Los Angeles, Hollywood, and I got selected. And so I went to LA for 2 years to do a degree in filmmaking, and as soon as I graduated, after 2 years, I decided that I loved LA so much that I decided to live there. And I basically lived there for about 8 or 9 years until I exploited all options of my visa and had to leave.
Okay. John, visa, I have also experienced, can tell you also a story later. I think now it's time for some music. So, yeah, welcome back. Raphael Afar here on Radio RuffiYo, episode number 3, live or almost live here from London City with Stéphanie and Sean. Yeah, Sean, you just told us a little bit about your career, about your CV or your milestones. You said LA, 6 years you lived there.
Yeah, 9 years,
9 years.
in LA,
Okay.
and I loved it there. A lot of people, there's a lot of British people there and a lot of Europeans, but especially Brits, because they speak the same language. And I found that either half of them loved it and half of them hated it. I was one of the ones that loved it.
Okay.
Except for parking and traffic, LA to me was a wonderful place to live. It's sunny every day of the year, and the thing I loved the most was that it was the town was full of people pursuing their dreams. They come from all around the world. They sacrifice their friends, their family, careers in various states or countries just to go to Hollywood to try and be the next Brad Pitt or Angelina Jolie or Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah, most of them make it.
Most of them don't make it, but
Yeah,
it's still a nice lifestyle while you're on that journey. And I miss that sort of positive energy that we don't have in Europe, that you have in LA. But I had to leave in the end just because it's really difficult to stay there without a green card, getting married to someone. So I stayed as long as I could legally. It was in LA that I met Stephanie, because she also went to UCLA as a filmmaking student after me, and I'll let her tell you
I have
about
a
that.
question. How was it about? So you met each other at the film school in Los Angeles?
Not at a film school.
In Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles,
In LA.
okay.
Stephanie's younger, so she went to the film school several years after I did.
Okay,
But we both lived in LA, so that's where we met.
Okay. Stephanie, how was your career steps?
Different, because I, much like Sean, I come from a working class background, so not from a family of artists or. So I grew up in Brittany, on the west coast of France, so in a small village, and so cinema was not even like part of my.
You are French, actually? Or?
Yes.
Okay, damn it. I thought the whole time, why are you talking today with such a French accent?
Basically, I studied something else, like business, but I always loved writing, so I decided I would become a writer, a screenwriter. And I started knocking on doors and found a few jobs as a story analyst for TV companies in Paris. Started making a living as a script analyst, working in film, mainly TV animation, and then I became a screenwriter. I was making a decent living, actually, interestingly enough, and like cinema, TV is way more structured. It's easier to get a paycheck, and that was my early career, and then I decided that actually I really wanted to A, direct, and B, do genre films. And that's what...
So you moved to America?
Yeah, that's what led me to America, really. And then that's where we met. And yeah.
How you met? How is it? Like, Hollywood Boulevard?
Well,
It
was in Venice
Beach,
Beach community. I'd made a film with Brittany Murphy and Thora Birch, which are quite well-known actors. Unfortunately, Brittany Murphy died the year the film came out. Thora Birch still has a very successful career, and I just finished that film, and it was in post-production. And my costume designer, who is German from Berlin, Swinde Reichert, was living in Venice Beach, and every month she had a barbecue where she'd also showcase all her costume design, which was very, very creative. And I went to that barbecue on a Sunday afternoon in Venice Beach, and Stephanie went to the same barbecue, invited by some other friend of Swinde's, and we met there. And and we, very quickly, the reason we connected was, A, we're both on the same sort of creative journey of wanting to be independent writer directors, but also more specifically because we loved the same directors and the same movies, and we had a shared bond and connection and passion for those movies. So, you know, we got to know each other over the next year or so, and ultimately formed a production company together to make movies.
Is it for you also as a couple, you know, if you combine this professional and private rooms, time, etc., is this kind of like a challenge also for you in private?
What we found over the years is more and more even, there's a hell of a lot of couples in the industry that work together, that have companies together, but are also share their lives together. And, you know, I think one of the main reasons for that is because it's really hard for your family and your friends to understand why you doggedly follow this, you know, career, because it's a never-ending process of rejection and disappointment and frustration, and not being able to go on vacation and have a nice car. You know, and it's also very difficult to have a family if you wanted a family, because you have to be so selfish to doggedly stick for years and years and years to your goal and your dream. And so I think one of the reasons why there are a lot of couples in partnerships in this business is because you understand that journey. You share the same dream, same passions,
same schedule, I can imagine also.
Same schedule, same
exactly. Yeah, same kind of, you know, you go to the same film festivals, and you go to the cinema to watch the same movies that you love. You know, a typical relationship, you know, the girl might like certain type of movie and the boy might like a different movie, and they don't really, you know, it's more awkward to. But I think that, you know, the other thing is, we're not actors, we don't act at all, but there are a lot of actors that are date actors or married actors, because they totally understand what it's like to live that dream. And I think that's one of the big reasons. You know, we share, you know, we understand and accept the disappointments. You know, I think where it would get really challenging, and this happens more in the acting world, is when one of the couple get very successful and the other one is still struggling. And that happens in the acting world more, just because in the acting world you can go from being... I just read the other day that Jacob Elordi, the Australian actor, when he got cast in the Elvis movie, which was only about 3 years ago, that's made him an A-list superstar in a very short period of time, he was actually sleeping in his car when that happened.
Wow, that's amazing.
When he went to the audition. I just read that. So that's a good example where he maybe, let's say he had another an actor as a girlfriend at the time.
One question, John. How can he sleep in his car when he has to go to the audition?
I've slept in my car, believe it or not,
in Hollywood also.
In Hollywood, several times between apartments and certain situations. But so I totally believe it and understand it. But a good example there, he may have been with his childhood sweetheart, who's also an actress,
and also in his car,
who may have not ever got cast in anything, and so it'd be almost impossible.
His girlfriend of his family.
No, I'm surmising, but I don't know in his case, but there are many examples where one of the couple, you know, suddenly gets cast in a Star Wars, and the other one is still struggling to get a commercial, and that's impossible to.
I think that's in quite a few creative fields now. So as a musician,
music
stuff
as
like
well,
this,
yeah,
you know, if one
one
part is getting successful, I mean, at the end, it's always the ego, or maybe also the circumstances. That two things I realized. First thing is, you know, as a person like me, if you hear about your projects, you know, here, I mean, start with Judge Dredd, Hollywood Productions, etc. I also remember when we met last year when I stayed at your place, you know, when I walked through your flat and there were all these pictures, and I said, this person looks familiar. Do I know this person? You said, here, Game of Thrones, stuff like this. We are working with these guys then also. The funny thing is, I think not just for me, also for all people who don't have that much information or knowledge about the film business, I would think, you know, if you tell me these stories, damn, you live in a big villa with pool, with you have money, more and more, and you don't have to worry about a thing, and always chill out in Beverly Hills at pool parties with don't know this. But you tell me if I understand you right. It's really tough, also financially. It's not like if you have a business.
I mean, to be positive, it's a wonderful life in terms of going to festivals. And they're always well sponsored by alcohol, vodka companies, and you know they're always in nice cities.
You're being invited to wonderful places. Yeah,
but it's a great lifestyle.
But like in the UK industry, it's very rare. I mean, a lot of people in the film industry tend to be fairly well off. Or
it's feast or famine. It's basically
because otherwise it's really hard to. They've been noticing that there are very few working class people in the film industry for that in the UK for that reason.
I believe it's like 95% of the Screen Actors Guild (SAG) are earning less than the average wage, and then the other 5% or 3% or whatever it is, it's just a few percent. You know, earn the lion's share of all the money in the film industry. Like so Brad Pitt will get $20 or $30 million a movie. But most actors, even some actors you will have seen in TV series and so on, are lucky to earn, you know, they might earn like $30,000 for a month's work, but then not work for a year. And so that's the sort of typical scenario. And it's the same if you're a director or an editor.
Do you think it's unfair, both of you, that then the main star actors, characters earn so much money while the people behind it, or people like you who are really then the organizers of this whole thing, more in the background and don't get that much money? Do you think?
I think it's unfair.
Yeah, it's unfair because producers at the moment struggle quite a lot. But yeah, it's specifically, especially in the UK, I would say.
I can just imagine, you know. I mean, you work on big projects, and if you work with, just because you dropped the name, guys like Brad Pitt, for example, who earns then, don't know, 10 million for a movie, and you...
However, I would say I don't blame the actors or the creators, it's their agents, it's the execs in the business that have really spoiled the business in a way and made it very, like, by committee.
I'm sure there's an issue with it at the moment because a lot of movies, like one battle after another, they're not making money.
Even though it's a brilliant film,
it's a great film, but they are not making money, and yet they had to pay DiCaprio a lot of money. So at the moment they're like asking themselves, "What should we be paying that kind of money?"
But I actually don't blame the actors or the creatives, because at the end of the day, most of them are artists and creatives, and at one point in their life, typically they were sleeping in a car, or they were, you know, working at McDonald's. Brad Pitt was literally working at McDonald's. I just mentioned Jacob Elordi, who's an A-list superstar now, was sleeping in his car just 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago maybe.
I think it is.
And you know, they would have worked for free on a movie if you gave them the job. And now, 3, 4, 5 years later, his agent, if you want to cast Jacob Elordi in your movie, well, of course, everyone else does as well. So it's a bidding war, essentially. So if Jacob Elordi's agent says, well, it's 10 million, you know, that's what it costs. And Jacob Elordi has to, you know, can't supersede their agent typically, because they won't even hear about a project until it's got to a certain level. So it's not the artists, it's the execs that have created this situation where one actor can get paid $30 million.
Now, for me, what is also interesting, and what is also, I think, for the audience interesting, first of all, I wanted to ask you, what were your biggest projects you have worked with? What is your actual project right now?
I mean, as a crew person, I've worked on some of the biggest movies ever made. I've worked on 3 James Bond films and Star Wars: The Phantom Menace and Judge Dredd, and so I worked with Stallone and Liam Neeson and Kate Winslet, Pierce Brosnan, movie stars. As a crew person, I was in the special effects department, in-camera special effects. So I've been fortunate enough to kind of see those actors and the directors, George Lucas and so on, Steven Spielberg, kind of working firsthand. And I did some really interesting jobs on those movies. I was one of the operators of R2-D2 in Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, and blew things up in the James Bond film. As a director and producer, our work is on independent films, and they tend to be much lower budgeted, and also the level of stars are they're more like rising stars, or they're not A-list actors, they're what you might call B-list actors.
But quite well known, like leads.
But relatively well known. So the next project we're making, I'm directing, Stephanie's producing. It's called The Last Moon, and it's a Hitchcockian supernatural thriller. And the actors we've got for that film are very, very, very impressive. They've got lead roles in Netflix and Amazon series and independent movies, BAFTA nominations and so on. But as Stephanie really touched on, they're not, one of the most common ways of making a feature film is to pre-sell territories to get the money to make the film. Now, to pre-sell a film, basically a pre-sale is a distributor giving you the money for their territory, let's say Germany, and let's say they believe it's worth 100,000 euros in Germany. So they're giving you a contract, an agreement worth 100,000 that you can cash flow as a filmmaker for your film, so that you add enough of those territories up, you have a budget to make your film. The problem is, in recent years, the last 5 to 10 years, I would say, is that the rates for the value of those territories have gone down significantly.
And it's harder
conversely, the desire for the level of actors has risen dramatically, and this is because of the streamers as well, because the streamers are now putting into everyone's front room, movie stars. Instead of going to the cinema to see Kate Winslet, you can watch her on Netflix or Amazon every night. And so the value, for distribution for feature films has gone down dramatically. And, conversely, they want independent films to have significant actors in to get the pre-sale. So if you don't have, Tom Hardy in your film, you can't pre-sell it. And if you can't pre-sell it, you don't have the money to make your film. So that's the big challenge. That's what Stephanie's talking about.
Better in Europe,
it's not impossible, and you have to navigate through it, but it is the biggest challenge.
Actually, what I'm interested in, your productions right now. I still don't know where can I watch them. Where are they available, on which platforms, and what are the titles?
So Stephanie's debut feature film as a writer-director was called The Quiet Hour, which I produced. It's a few years ago now that we made it, but it's currently on Netflix. So you can watch it on Netflix. It did really well for what we call a micro-budget film, which is under 100,000 euros budget. And it's a really great example of her talent and voice as an artist, especially given the budget. And it did really, really well as a very small independent film, in that it sold to 25 odd countries around the world, which is a lot more than the average British film, even bigger budgeted British films. And it also played at over 20 international film festivals. 4 or 5 of those festivals were, are big, well-known festivals. It debuted at the Galway International Film Festival, it played at Raindance, it played at Newport Beach Film Festival.
What was the title again?
The Quiet Hour.
The Quiet Hour on Netflix.
Okay. It starred Dakota Blue Richards, who was in
The Golden
Golden Compass, and has been in other movies and TV series. And it's impressively made, given its budget especially, and did really, really well for a small independent film. And then my film that I wrote and directed is called Deadline, and it starred Brittany Murphy and Thora Birch, as I said earlier, and that sold to like 50 countries around the world because of the actors it had in it. They were well-known actors, and it's available on Amazon Prime.
Okay, Amazon Prime.
And that is Stephanie's film. The Quiet Hour is a science fiction thriller.
Okay.
And my film Deadline is a supernatural thriller. Yeah.
So
and they're both good examples of our individual styles as filmmakers. Stephanie's very focused on smart science fiction, I would say, with the thriller elements, and I'm very focused on the supernatural and psychological thrillers. And so those films are good representations of that.
Okay, so The Quiet Hour on Netflix. Stephanie, was this then kind of like you directed it, but was it then also like it's your movie? So it was also your script, your idea?
Yeah, it was my screenplay.
Okay.
And it's something I did because,
how do you start this? Do you start this kind of like a story or like a...
Just because I wanted to make a film, had to be really cheap to make.
Okay.
So it had to be like very...
But is it, sorry, stupid question maybe, especially science fiction? Is there a possibility to make a cheap science fiction movie?
Yeah.
Do you think there's a lot of special effects?
No, very few special effects, very few visual effects, very few characters, one location. More of a drama really than science fiction by implication really.
One question would be, for me now with my psychology background, when you said you worked with Brittany Murphy, this time already short before her death, or was it?
Yeah, so the film, she died the week the film came out, but of course it takes many months in post-production for the film to be finished. So I think it was approximately 9 months or 10 months after the film.
But did you
after she was making the film as an actor that she died, sadly, and she was going through some sort of drama in her life connected with her husband and so on, which I won't talk about too much, but it was interesting to work with her because she was an incredible talent, and it was an honour for me to work with her because she was very young. She was only like 30 or 31, and she'd already made like 40 movies at that time. And so for me to work with her on my first film as a director was a real honour, and she was one of the most intelligent people I've ever met in my life, and I was quite humbled about the script because it's a very psychological story. It's about a female character having a psychological breakdown, and so in a good way she was very challenging to me about some of the elements of the story and the script. And of course, like everyone in Hollywood who has the money, they all have therapists, they all have experience of having psychotherapy and counsellors and so on, and so they're very literate about how that all works and the language of psychology, much more than I am.
For me, it would be interesting, especially when you directed or worked with her every day. Did you realize something? Did you see it? Or, I mean, a question to both of you. I mean, you work with this. It's a kind of like a stereotype that especially actors, I mean, Marilyn Monroe, James Dean, it's almost like the Club 27 guys, that they're always very up-down persons. Did you have Winehouse and so on? But did you have, is there, I mean, I'm not a fan of stereotypes, but, every stereotype, some truth is in it. Do you have experience also with other actors that it's all kind of like a group where they are very,
I think a lot of very talented actors have
issues.
Well, I wouldn't say issues, but a lot going on, which makes them great and special and different as well.
I would say not just actors, the creative people. Whether they're a painter or a musician or an actor or a writer, they are naturally more sensitive than an average person, if you like, an executive type especially. And in some ways, the more sensitive they are, the more troubled they are psychologically, the better artists they are. And that's really whether it's, Jim Morrison or,
Amy Winehouse, Jimi Hendrix
or Amy Winehouse. So you could go on and on and on. Many of these people died very, very young, like Brittany Murphy. And in some ways, it's almost an ironic thing, that the thing that makes them so kind of watchable or charismatic
is also what's
and talented is because they're so troubled,
Acting was never in your projects. Did you also like Quentin Tarantino, that you have your script and then you play? Because maybe I'm too selfish, because if I want a movie I would also put myself in
I'm a terrible
actor.
I can't act to save my life, and I don't think it's true can I actually.
I don't think I could act. I mean, I like the idea, like the thought of acting, and I would have liked to, in hindsight, I would have really liked directors to do acting lessons to understand acting.
And I don't think it's about ego, it's really about take acting lessons. I did at UCLA.
Okay.
I had to. It's awful if you're not an actor, a natural actor, if you're not good at acting. It's really difficult. But it's needed. Learn your craft. And that's throughout by taking...
So just the basics?
By taking lessons.
Okay.
And I find it super helpful.
Did you work in one of your projects with non-professional actors?
No, I've never worked.
Never?
No.
For me, one of my favorite movies is a little bit, but movie I really like is City of God, Brazilian movie.
Yeah, that's great.
And I think there the director worked all of the cast. I think is really street kids from the ghetto, from Sao Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, don't know where it is. And I mean, it's also, I never would have thought that. And also, so my question is, do you think that also, in particular, in special movies, that maybe also people, maybe if you take City of God, you have these main characters in the ghetto with drug dealers, that maybe it's people like this who really live this, who really are authentic and live this life.
That's played better. To a degree, it's not really acting. I mean, I've got mixed emotions about it. Number one, they're not really acting. If they're kids from the ghetto acting as who are in a gang or whatever, not only are they, acting within their type and their background and so on, they're also probably being coached for many months before the actual production begins, number one. And number two, acting is someone, becoming someone completely different. Like Daniel Day-Lewis becoming, the paraplegic character in My Left Foot. That's acting, to do that.
And it's good to study books like Respect for Acting by Uta Hagen. She was a wonderful actor herself and also a wonderful coach and tutor.
I mean, there are different types of actors. I mean, there are people that just have so much charisma, like Samuel L. Jackson, for instance, or De Niro, you know, that they just have to stand in front of a camera. As long as they can remember their lines, they're mesmerising to watch.
But a lot of work, however, because again, it's people just don't realise the amount of work that goes into acting, and a lot of very famous American actors and British actors, actually European actors, still go to school. They have a coach. They take classes. They learn their craft over and over, and they always want to improve.
Boys and girls, we are back here at Radio RuffiYo and all the listeners around our beautiful planet. Back with Stephanie, back with Sean, film directors from London. And now we come to our last part of this interview. One thing is, for me it's also interesting, I saw a documentary about actors in very sensitive scenes, like erotic scenes and stuff like that. Do you, as directors, have an approach where you also say, okay, kind of like this method acting thing, that the scenes should be as real as possible? For example, if I take sensitive scenes, erotic scenes like Lars von Trier, for example, or Stanley Kubrick, Eyes Wide Shut, stuff like this, then also, do you also say, okay, you prefer in your movies stuff like this, or how is it also for
I think things have changed quite a lot. Now you would have an intimacy coordinator.
Okay.
So someone, because it's almost like a choreography. I think that I'm not even sure that it's still possible to be as hardcore as it used to be at times. Now you would have someone designing a scene with you.
Okay.
The theory is that, you know, a lot of actors were sort of bullied or abused into that
to be protected
by powerful directors.
Especially women.
And male directors, typically authoritative. You know, you're the captain of the ship. You know, they have a lot of power and control over actors, even well-known actors.
I would personally have an intimacy coordinator for sex scenes, because it's more comfortable for the actors as well. If they have to simulate sex on screen, definitely.
Well, I've seen some, recently an actress said that, that a female actress, that they felt the intimacy coordinator got in the way.
But at the same time, I have directed a rape scene, and it was a choreography. It's like, it's not like, it's a choreography. You just prepare step by step, beat by beat. It's almost technical in a way, and I think that the way you should approach intimacy, sexual intimacy, can be quite, in a way, technical as well. So that it's not. That's the way I love.
But I could imagine it's all regulated before in the contract. So
it's not.
Are there some actors that say, okay, they don't want to make naked scenes because and stuff like this?
Yeah, and I think it's rightly so. And also, it's a choreography, right? Most of the time, it's not that. It looks very real, but they know that they're gonna place their fingers on someone's back, and it's gonna lead to the next step. But it has been kind of prepared. So ahead of time, and to the point where it looks completely real, but it's not. And I think that's again what acting should be all about, like to make sure that everyone is comfortable with what's going on. And even if I don't have an intimacy coordinator, it'd be really about. I would be preparing it like you would prepare an action, a fight scene. Same level of course, of prep work and breakdown of the scene.
To come to an end, I really would like, or I really would be interested, what would be your recommendations, your tips for the younger generation? Or if you meet yourself back again at the start of your film career, directing career, what inputs or what sentence would have liked to heard, or what would you like to tell the younger generation who wants to become movie stars or directing stars? What are there some
that's the point. Don't try to be directing stars, just do the work.
Okay.
Just do the work. Focus on doing your best work every day and do it every day, and things will happen.
I would say, enjoy the process, the journey, because there's a saying, the road is always better than the inn.
Yeah.
Meaning that the journey to your destination is your life. That's the part that you're living every day.
Something like that. One day you will wish you were.
And then when you get to the end, or when you make a movie, it may not be as good or as exciting as you want it to be. So enjoy the journey, enjoy the road to that place.
Yeah, word. Nothing to add. So kids out there and future film directors and movie stars, don't focus on the money, focus on your passion and on your heart and on your soul. If I understood it right, to sum it up. Hey, Stéphanie, Sean, thank you very much. To have this interview with you. Again, check out The Quiet Hour on Amazon.
Netflix.
Netflix and
Deadline on Amazon Prime.
Deadline on Amazon Prime and The Quiet Hour on Netflix. And maybe because of the music, the name of your of the composer.
Carlos Alvarez.
Okay. Check out Carlos Alvarez. Do you also want to make some advertising for your company or stuff like this?
Our company's called Frenzy Films. We have a website called frenzyfilms.com.
Okay.
And we're on LinkedIn as Stéphanie Joalland and Sean McConville.
Yeah, we also show LinkedIn is our favorite place.
We're on Facebook as well, of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess the website is the main point of contact.
Okay. If you want, we can also put on your contact
information.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Hey, thank you very much. Smooth interview. Totally new information and perspectives out of the film industry. Yeah. Radio RuffiYo episode 3 finished. Greets out of London. See you on the 4th episode, which will be in a few weeks. Stay tuned and peace out.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Cheers to that. Thanks, guys. Welcome celebrities in everyday life situations.
Charles Dickens, feeling ashamed about a fart in public in the year 1869. Oopsie. A boopsie. No, it wasn't me. What? No, it wasn't me. No, I think the gentleman with the hat here in the front. No, me. How dare, how could I? No, it wasn't me.
This was Radio RuffiYo, the regularly radio show.